All right, this is a, a video on day 8, and it's using the unit circle to solve trig equations. So we can, ideally we should have the unit circle memorized, but we can reference it to find what these are equal to. So sine of 210 degrees. We have to remember that sine of theta is always equal to the y value of the ordered pair at this angle location on the unit circle. We also need to know that cosine is the x value and tangent is the ratio y over x. Because basically sine is the opposite over hypotenuse, but on a unit circle hypotenuse is 1, so y over 1 is y. Cosine is the adjacent in a triangle with theta as a reference angle, and it's the x direction or adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent, so y over x. Okay, so sine of 210, we'll just reference the unit circle here. 210 is right here, and sine represents the y value. So when we could draw this out, like 210 is really talking about this angle created by the x-axis and the terminal side of the angle going to 210. And so sine of this would be opposite over hypotenuse. And so this is the y direction. That's why it's -1/2. So to sum it up, you're just using the unit circle to find the angle you're talking about, and then sine is y. For cosine, cosine represents the x value, so you just use the unit circle, line 315, and then cosine is x, so just the x value, square root of 2 over 2. So that's relatively easy when you have the unit circle to reference, no pun intended. Obviously pun intended. So some problems are going to look like this. You can use the angle to find what sine or cosine or whatever is equal to. Okay, here's a couple more problems. Something a little bit more interesting. If we knew that cosine of some angle was 1/2, usually we'd expect to get what degree that is. There's actually a couple, you're going to end up with a couple options, because if we look for cosine, and this should be theta, it's more appropriate for us because x we think of as the x direction, and cosine is related to x, but we're doing sine of x, so really just think of this as theta for now. It's fine. So cosine of some angle is 1/2. If we looked at the unit circle, we know that we're talking about cosine, so we know that we're talking about the x value of an ordered pair. We want to know what angle gives us 1/2 as the x value, and we can see that the x value, just kind of go around, there's one, it's +1/2, because that's what we were looking for, +1/2. This one, their x's are negative, and then we're back to +1/2 right there. So the angle measurements that give us that are 60 and 300. So this actually has two answers, 60 degrees and 300 degrees. When you have a problem like tangent, this one's kind of ugly because we have to kind of go back and remember that at one point to get this, we actually had 1 over square root of 3, and then what happened was we multiplied it by a fraction square root of 3 over square root of 3 to rationalize the denominator, and so this turned into 1 times square root of 3 is square root of 3. And on the bottom you had square root of 9, which is 3. So let's just kind of review. This is what you originally had. So we would kind of want to think, how would it be possible to get this? And so we kind of just have to play around a little bit. And we should know one thing. Tangent is y over x. So I'll start with the easy one here. It's obviously not going to be this, because this is only going to give us 0 or undefined. Same with all of the 90, 180, 270s, because y over x is 0 over 1, or 1 over 0, which is undefined, so it's not those. So we can kind of do this by elimination a little bit if you want. We know it's not any of these. We also know it's not this, any of the 45s, because you'd get square root of 2 over 2, that's the y value, over square root of 2 over 2. This would be tangent. And this is the same on top as the same on bottom, so this would just be 1. And that's the same with all of the 45 reference angles. So you're going to get 1 or negative 1. So we know it's not these ones. Then it leaves us with the other ones. So let's just try 30. See what happens when we do y over x. It would be 1 over 2 over square root of 3 over 2. And there was this fancy trick that I have been using where you have like double-decker fractions like this. I just do outsides over insides. I multiply the outsides, you get 2 times 1 is 2. Put that over the insides, 2 times square root of 3. And then we notice the 2's would cancel in this situation. Same thing on top and bottom. You're left with 1 over square root of 3. So we do have something similar. And remember, if we multiply this by square root of 3 over 3, or square root of 3 over square root of 3, then we'd get, we'd rationalize the denominator, and we'd get just square root of 3 over 3. And this is what we're looking for. So notice we have that right here. So we know the angle measurement. We really know the reference angle. It's got to be 30 because we're getting the right number. However, this is negative. So really, the only way we're going to get a negative is if either the top or the bottom is negative. Only one or the other. So 30 doesn't work. They're both positive. The other 30-degree reference angle, these are the 30-degree reference angles. They're all going to give me the same answer, but maybe positive or negative. This one, I have one negative. So the top would be positive, bottom would be negative. My overall answer is going to be negative. So this is one of them that we're looking for. The next 30-degree reference angle is this guy. Both negative. So the negatives would cancel. We'd end up with a positive again. And that's not what we want. We want a negative. So it can't be that one. And then another, so I'm skipping over the 60s because we already found a number. The other 30-degree reference angle is negative 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2. We have one negative, so that fits. So we get two answers, 150 and 330. These other two will be a little bit quicker. Sine of x. So remember, this is theta. So what angle gives us the y value being negative 1? That's what this is asking. So what angle gives us a y value of negative 1? We can erase all this stuff here. Y value of negative 1. So take a second and look around. Y value of negative 1. And there's only one of them on the unit circle, and that's right there. Your y value of negative 1 is 270. You don't get two answers for this one. Cosine of x being equal to 1. So check that. Remember, this is theta. What angle is the x value? 1. Angle having x value being 1 is right here, 0, and technically 360 because we're saying included both. So 0 and 360. All right, that's basically everything, just using the unit.